eye. Hello friends, Gary from Gary's Garage. We're here taking a look at, this is our second video, going to look at some Rolex GMTs. We're proud sponsors of ArchieLuxury, and we're going to view these beautiful watches on the hood of this beautiful Buick 66 Riviera. All right.
Tell us when we're rolling.
We're going.
All right, a couple of nice examples of modern Rolexes to show you here, Gary, on the hood of this gorgeous 66 Buick Riviera. The first one is a Rolex Explorer 2. White dial. This is known as the Polar. It comes both in white and black. The thing you'll notice about this watch is it's got that orange hand on it. That orange hand is pointing to the outer ring of 24-hour clock. And that's what makes this a GMT watch, the GMT function. You can keep multiple time zones. This watch used to be out of favor. This is the newer version of the 42 mils. The 42 millimeter diameter comes with the modern Rolex class, which is really elegant and milled, super luxurious. People buy these watches to keep track of time in 2 time zones. And so the way I use this watch when I travel the world with it, and I've been all over with it, so it's my first Rolex that I ever bought, is I keep that orange hand at Eastern Standard Time, which is my home time zone, and then when you travel, you can very quickly just adjust the hours of where you've landed. If you go to California, you go back 3 hours. If you want to go forward very quickly, that orange hand stays in place the whole time, and so if you change the hour hand, you can look very quickly and say, oh, you know, it's about 1:30 in my home time zone, no matter where you are in the world. And you might think that's a simple concept, and with your phone you could just pull it out of your pocket and look at your time, but it's actually pretty cool, and I found myself using it a lot when I traveled overseas. So the Explorer 2, like I said, used to be out of favor, but now with the global shortage of steel sports Rolex, every steel sports Rolex is spiking in price, and so you can't really buy this for less than retail on the secondary market. There's a previous version of this watch that's very similar. Didn't quite have the same quality of clasp, and it was a little smaller. It's 40 mils, but there was still the Explorer 2 GMT function, same concept. You can still find those for under retail, but even those are coming up in price as the global shortage of steel sports Rolex continues.
And this is just a beautiful example. It's just spotless, as is every watch that you've brought to share with us. I mean, it's just like it came out of the box. I mean, other than the fingerprint that I just put on it, but
that all
it's just beautiful.
I do love
keep them great shape.
I do love to. Whenever I put them down, you don't want to put them down on the crown.
The wrong way. Okay.
Just a little OCD that way, but
yeah.
And just like the other Rolexes we've looked at, this is also waterproof. It comes with the screw down crown. You can easily, wash your hands, not worry about splashing water. It's rated to be underwater, but like I said, I think in the previous video, I would never go diving in a Rolex, not at today's prices. But you certainly could if you wanted to. And if you're out in the rain, this is called the Explorer because it was sort of meant to be worn by people in the outdoors, exploring nature. The thing about Rolex is not only are they gorgeous and perfect, but they're also very robust. So unlike some of the other high-end watch brands, you can bang them around a little bit, and they keep in pretty good shape. I try really hard not to. I try to keep all my watches in pristine shape because I view them sort of as a store of value and not as something to mess around with. But I do love the Polar Explorer 2. As I said, that watch comes exact same watch but with a black dial. I think the white dial really pops on this one. So the second one we're going to talk about today is also a GMT watch. This is actually called the Rolex GMT2, GMT Master. And unlike the Explorer, this one is two-tone. So you can see there's a lot of flashy gold color on it. That's actually solid gold, 18 karat through and through in the middle. It's polished gold, and then gold on the bezel as well. Now the Explorer 2 is a GMT, and this one also is, and you could barely see, I don't know, Alex, if you can get, there's a green hand in there. We'll get some close shots of this stuff later, but This one actually has the added function of you can spin the bezel and set it to a third time zone as well. And so you can actually keep 3 different time zones. So for example, if you're going to California, you just spin this one over 3 times. And then, or I guess it would be the other way if you're going west, and you back up the time, and that way you don't have to change the original time on the watch. And so the top of the bezel is 24. Now, in our previous video, we showed the Submariner, and it had a spinning bezel. It only spun one way, because when you're diving, you don't want to accidentally make it look like you're underwater for, you know, shorter than you were. This one spins both ways. It's a bidirectional bezel, because you either go east or west in the world, and you want to be able to adjust your GMT that way. And then we talked about how there's a worldwide shortage of steel sports. This isn't really a steel sports Rolex. There is steel on it, and it is a sports Rolex, but it's a 2-tone. About, you know, half the watch is gold, and there's a lot of gold in the bezel. So for a while, these were not doing as well on the secondary market as the sort of steel sports were doing. But again, when I saw this one new in the authorized dealer, I jumped on it and bought it, because I figured if there's going to be a shortage of steel, then people who can't buy the versions of the watch they want in steel are going to jump to 2-tone next. And sure enough, in the past 6 to 8 months, 2-tone Rolex watches have gone up in price too. And Archie famously has got a 2-tone Daytona with a Maserati blue dial. I think he had the same thought, which is, you know, the steel Daytona watches have gone crazy, and they're more expensive than the 2-tone. But the 2-tone is a nice compromise between a gold Rolex and a steel Rolex. It's got some high quality gold on it, but it's very wearable like a steel is, because, you know, sometimes if you have a pure gold watch, it's very easily bumped, and you can get scratches on it very easy, because our gold isn't as hard as steel. And so 2-tone is a nice compromise between sort of a classy, pure precious metal with the wearability of stainless steel around it. And Rolex makes its own stainless steel. It's super high quality, as you can tell. And so this is a 2-tone GMT, used to keep time in multiple time zones, and worn by travelers, business people who travel.
Well, there we go, 2 GMTs. Take a look at that, boys and girls. Doesn't get much prettier than that.
So, you know, in our previous videos, we showed some steel sports Rolex and a Rolex 2-tone. There's other luxury brands of watches, and depending on which brand you buy and which watch you buy within that brand, you can do well. A lot of these